Hi there, everybody. This is Tim Lee with the Texas Retired Teachers Association on a beautiful Friday afternoon from somewhere in Dripping Springs, Texas. I know the image behind me looks like the downtown Austin, but this is the magic of television. So I am in Dripping Springs. Beautiful, beautiful day here. I hope that you are also having a great day wherever you are. Thanks for watching. I'm so glad that we're going to spend some time talking about the great subject of what's going on this session and what is always a big issue for our retired teachers. So like always, I am going to try to keep an eye on comments and incoming details, things that are going on. I want to thank our team, one of my coworkers here at TRTA, Roy Varney, who is acting as producer today for our video. So I'm just going to take a look around at the screen and make sure everything looks good, and then we're going to get started. So looks like everything is in place, and really anxious to get going. So again, thanks for being here. Tim Lee, I'm the director of the Texas Retired Teachers Association, and we are going to spend some time talking about hopefully an idea that takes shape in the legislature this session, and it's one of the TRTA's big issues always. But I will tell you, we came into this legislative session not entirely sure that the idea of a cost of living raise would be something that we could actually do. It's been an up and down economy for the last couple of years, especially here in the last year. It's been difficult to predict what will occur, but we've had some good news. We've got some really great news from the teacher retirement system on their investment division, and really, as we're going to see today, this is a response to the work that the retired teachers have been able to do. Our TRTA members, all TRS retirees, just not retired teachers, but all TRS retirees. As well as other stakeholder friends of ours, the active school community, including our administrators, our school business officials, classroom teachers, all of the groups that make our schools work and the sacrifices that they've done. We all work towards a common goal, whether you're active or retired. TRTA looks at people in two ways: you're retired or pre-retired. And so our objective is to protect your retirement security, and that when you eventually do retire, that you're going to have not only a secure retirement, but one that really looks and takes seriously the component of expenses that you may start to incur in your retirement. It's a great place to start a conversation about a cost of living raise when you look at the formula or think about the formula that we always use when talking about a TRS benefit and how do we manage it. And that formula is C plus I equals B. And there's a little proviso that I think we're going to add in here in our conversation today. But all of you who have, really worked with TRTA over the years, you know that C is contributions plus I, which is the investments, equals B, the benefit. And that's really the pretty simple formula for how do we look at being able to provide our retirement security for our Texas TRS retirees. But there is also E. E stands for expenses. And in some states, their TRS retirees and their other public worker retirees have what we call an ongoing or permanent cost of living raise that is built into their retirement benefits. Of course, we know here in Texas, we don't have an ongoing annual cost of living raise that's part of our benefit structure. And there's a lot of ups and downs, and people could argue good or bad. And the bottom line, though, is that Texas TRS, at least in TRTA's opinion, was never really designed not to have cost of living raises, because there have been cost of living raises provided to retirees over the last 8 or 9 decades of TRS. The real issue is that the legislature has a higher bar of being able to provide those raises by saying that the cost of them has to be absorbed within the funding period of TRS. And so we actually have a statutory guideline that says, hey, look, if your unfunded liability, which a lot of people say is it's like a mortgage, if you can pay off that unfunded liability in 31 years or less, well, then you're financially healthy. And if you want to give the retirees in your plan an increase, as long as you are under the 31 years, and as long as whatever that raise is, whatever that benefit increase may be, whatever that is, as long as it doesn't put you above 31 years, well, then that is acceptable. And so that is our statutory Texas guideline. And, there was some testimony a week ago about, should we be, 25 years solved? Should we be 20 years solved? You know what? Look, here's TRTA's position, and we're going to be very firm in what we believe when it comes to funding a raise for retirees. The statutory provision on providing a raise to retirees is very simple. You can authorize, being you in this discussion is the legislature, can authorize a raise for TRS retirees so long as that raise does not move the funding period above 31 years. There are all kinds of ways and methods that the legislature may employ to pay for that benefit increase. And I've been around this a long time. What I know is, and what most of you know, is that when something is really important to do, we typically find a way to try to get it done, as long as it fits within the realm of reasonable activity. And our association, we are as reasonable as I think any organization can be. But we also have a sense of desperation. And many of you who are watching this today, many of you will know that it has been years, if ever, that you have received a cost of living increase or an increase in your base retirement benefits. As a matter of fact, 50% or more of our current TRS retiree population has never received an increase in their base pension amount. And a lot of folks say, well, I don't know that I've ever gotten a raise. I'm not sure, it's been years. I've been retired for a long time and I've never gotten a raise. So it's true that if you retired September 1st, 2004 or after, you've never had an increase in your retirement benefits. Now, you've probably received, because of, again, your hard work, the commitment of the legislature, and a lot of folks working together, we were able to do some supplemental payments. And in the entire history of Teacher Retirement System Texas, there have only ever been 2 supplemental payments. There have been far more cost of living increases over those decades than there have ever been supplemental payments. And many elected officials that I have an opportunity to speak to, they look at supplemental payment or that 13th check. It's really it's a method of holding people over until we can really get to the prize that we all want, which is raising that base retirement benefit for our TRS retirees. So kind of going back to our history here, 8/31/2004 or before, those retirees received an increase in 2013. And it was 3% raise. It was capped at $100 per month. So you either got 3% of your monthly annuity up to $100 a month, or you got $100 a month, depending on where you ended up on that. We're going to get into some of these statistics here in just a minute, that'll show you that the methodology that TRTA is looking at here, and that a lot of our friends in the legislature have actually filed legislation on, says, you know what, 3% may not be enough. Considering the 135,000 TRS retirees today make $1,000 a month or less, getting an extra $30 is better than getting nothing per month. But if we were to do a bigger raise and still keep a cap in place so that we could afford to give everybody something, well then, you could get a much higher dollar value than just a 3% raise and in the same cap in place. So anyway, we're going to get into some of this today, and we have a slide presentation to try to keep me on track. For those of you who know me personally, you know that I have a tendency to talk too much. I know it. And so therefore, we have created a slide presentation to try to keep us on track for our conversation today. So I'm going to ask Roy Varney, who is kind of behind the scenes, to go ahead and start our slide presentation. Thank you so much, Roy. And we're going to go through a few concepts here, and then we're going to talk about some action items at the very end of this discussion. So, we are talking about getting a cost of living adjustment for TRTA, all TRS retirees, but TRTA members are working towards that goal. So, Roy, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So the first question that should come into a legislator's mind or to your mind about the subject is, can TRS retirees receive a cost of living adjustment, or what we also refer to as a COLA, this session? And we want to be very clear. The answer is yes. The pension system is actuarially sound. They have testified, public testimony tells us that TRS is actuarially sound. Further information has shown us that the funding period, the time that it'll take for TRS to be fully funded, 100% funded, is 26 years. Now, that may seem like a long time, and for those of you that don't run in these circles all the time, let me be very clear. A 26-year amortization period is great news. And again, I really want to credit the legislators, the teacher retirement system, our friends in the active teacher community, our schools, but especially our retired teachers for working so hard to help get us to work towards this point, to get us to a point where we can say, yes, this is the session that retirees could receive a raise. And the part about this that's going to be more of our discussion as we move ahead here is that it just doesn't happen. There has to be legislative action to actually allow that raise to occur. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so then the next question it really speaks to what TRTA is all about, and that is protecting the trust fund. So the question that we have, want to answer for everybody is, will giving a cost of living adjustment to our dedicated retired school employees cause the pension fund to no longer be actuarially sound? And the answer to that is no. So long as we work within the reasonable and practical methodologies of making sure that we're not over committing, then we absolutely can structure a cost of living raise that will fit into our retirement system's ability to pay for it. And it can be done in one of two ways. I mean, we can, like most of the raises that the state of Texas has provided to its retirees in the past, what typically happens is we figure out how much that raise is going to be, and we add this to the overall funding period of the retirement system. And over time, that raise, the cost of that raise goes down. So the first year of the raise is always the most expensive. And then as the years roll along, the cost of that raise goes down. And so we've heard some testimony that, that over a certain period of time, the raise could cost this just huge amount of money. We just look at it a different way. And we look at it from the perspective of adding the cost of this supplemental increase to TRS adding the cost of this permanent raise to our retirees' benefits is going to cost more up front, and then the cost goes down over time. TRS has also suggested that the legislature can simply provide the amount of money that would be necessary to cover the entire cost of the raise up front, and then they could, amortize that cost and take those dollars, invest it, and help pay for it over time. So, but the bottom line here is that giving a cost of living adjustment to our retirees, if done correctly, will not cause the system to be not actuarially sound. So let's go to the next slide. All right, Roy, thank you so much. And so then the question is, how is this possible? Well, you know what? As I said earlier, it's because of the work. If you look at this slide, you'll see lots and lots of red shirts sitting on the floor of the Texas House. And then you'll look up above that and you'll see a bunch of other red shirts sitting up in those galleries. And I don't know how many miles I've walked trying to talk to elected officials, whether it's the Texas House or in the U.S. Capitol, but probably not nearly as much as the folks that you see on this picture. These are the dedicated TRTA members, legislators that have worked together and walked those halls and made those phone calls and sent those emails and worked and worked and worked to get us to the point that our pension system financial condition has improved so much that we have a funding plan, that we have a reasonable rate of return assumption, that the TRS board is doing their job, the investment people are doing their job. So in all of the last 2 decades, I don't know that we've ever had as good a financial position as we do now to provide retirees a cost of living adjustment. And that would be all current eligible retirees to be able to get something. Not like, we were grateful that we were able to do what we did in 2013, but not everybody got the raise. This time around, and I think that's what makes this situation, this legislative session unique, is we're in a special moment that we've not seen for 2 decades. And the real question is, will we be able to convince the legislature that right now is the time to seize that moment? All right, Roy, let's go to the next discussion. So this is a question that every single person who's watching this video right now can answer for themselves. But why do retirees need a COLA? This one's self-explanatory. I'll point out one of the items that we already said earlier. TRS retirees have not received a permanent annuity increase since 2013. And that COLA applied only to the retirees who retired on or before August 31st, 2004. So as I said at the very beginning of this, more than 50% of all current TRS retirees have never received a cost of living adjustment. Now, I want to be clear. We're not criticizing the supplemental payments. And I don't want, a lot of people watch this video feed. Elected officials, TRTA members, active teachers, superintendents, everybody. And I want to say to anyone who's ever had the opportunity to vote on providing a supplemental increase for retirees, I want to tell you thank you on behalf of the near 100,000 TRTA members that we have in our organization. Thank you for voting for those supplemental increases. And many of you, as elected officials, have said to me personally, we want to be able to do more. We want to be able to help our retirees. We know they need it. They deserve it. So let's do these supplemental payments. Let's stay the course. And then when it's time to be able to say, hey, we can afford a raise, let's come back and have that discussion. And so we're coming back to have that discussion now. All right, Roy, let's go to the next slide. All right, so what are the available options for providing a raise? And for our TRTA members that are also elected officials, a number of you have filed bills year after year to help our TRS retirees. And we're so grateful because that is always bringing us back to this idea, your colleagues in the legislature, that, hey, my fellow TRS retirees need some help. And my TRTA members are telling me, hey, we need some help. A lot of elected officials are TRTA members, and we're grateful for that. The way we see the lay of the land right now, based on the information that we have from the comprehensive annual financial report from the teacher retirement system, based on the 228 valuation, which has just recently been released and is still being reviewed, and based on just information that we have internally at TRTA, we believe that a cost of living raise of no less than 6% with a cap of $100 per month for TRS retirees is both necessary and deserved. We also think it's reasonable. As I said earlier, that 6% number will mean a whole lot more to our more modest income TRS retirees than a 3% raise capped at $100. We want to get people as close to that $100 as we can. Now, right before I started this call, I was talking to our friends in Amarillo. So all of my Amarillo friends who were just on that Zoom meeting with me earlier, hello again. But I want to restate a question that was asked. Why don't we just give everybody an additional $100 per month? Great idea. I'd love the idea. And if we found a way to make sure that everybody could get the $100 per month without pushing us beyond that 31-year threshold, I'd say let's go for it. But a lot of this is dictated about how much can you give without making the system not actuarially sound? Because if we were to pass a bill that made the system not actuarially sound by giving a raise, the whole thing is off for everybody. So that's why we're trying to take it as far as we can go. And we'll see. The process may tell us we can do more. The process may tell us we may do less, but we want to get focused on doing something. All right, Roy, let's go to the next slide. All right, so does helping TRS retirees improve our economy? And for all of you TRTA members, I love this picture. And a lot of you folks that are in District 4, you'll remember this picture. This is a TRTA Day at the Capitol, I think last session. And I see a few of our officers in this picture, a lot of our good TRTA members. But the whole point is every single one of those folks that you see represented who is a TRTA member, they represent a portion of our economy. And TRS annual pension payouts are $10.9 billion as of 2020. And that's going to go up, a little bit more even, this year. But if you think about all of the economic engines in the state of Texas and how many of those are producing $10.9 billion of economic activity, there probably are not that many. But we are one of them, $10.9 billion in economic activity because of all the folks that have served in our Texas schools and paid into this teacher retirement system and are now receiving the benefit of their retirement through it. And so all of these folks are receiving some form of their retirement. And 94% of our TRS retirees reside in Texas. And so that means that a big portion of that 10.9 billion stays right here. And that helps the local economy. It helps the state economy. And it really is a great economic engine. So we can give retirees a little bit more, then they're going to go out and they're going to spend that little bit more and they're going to improve the economy. And it's going to be a win for Texas just as much as it is a win for our TRS retirees' retirement security. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so then there's a question of, well, how financially healthy is the TRS trust fund right now? I mean, I thought we went through this, mild recession and COVID and everything else has happened. So here's just one glimpse of what's going on. TRS manages the 6th largest U.S. public pension fund with a market value of $177.9 billion. I mean, right on $178 billion. And it's an amazing reality for Texas to say that of all of the public pension funds that exist, and then you sort of separate those between the ones that are coordinated with Social Security so that their employees pay both into a public pension plan and the federal Social Security program. And then you have the ones that are not coordinated with Social Security, like our TRS is not coordinated with Social Security. Very few of them, honestly, probably maybe none of them that are not coordinated with Social Security are as a financially healthy position as TRS Texas. And giving this raise to our retired teachers is not going to imperil that standing. It is absolutely possible to do this, and it is possible to do without pushing the retirement system to the point where we need to be worried about what's gone on in other states, or that our own retirement system may be jeopardized by what's been happening. So we're in a really good position to try and do this, and I hope that we'll find the opportunity to do that this session. I was trying to look up some other information, but I think let's just go to the next slide and we'll talk about some other pieces as we come to an end here. So what do we need to do right now? Well, as I, again, kind of talking about my friends in Amarillo a few minutes ago, we have only half of our legislative session left. That is hard to believe. We had bill filing deadline last Friday. And, this is a live video. So, it's a week ago today that we finished filing all the bills. We saw some bills come out for TRTA and TRS that talk about giving retirees a raise. But to be very honest, the legislature has many difficult issues. I always talk about bandwidth. The kind of bandwidth necessary to deal with just any one of those issues is enough to take over a lot of time of the legislature. But I have a lot of faith in the Texas legislature. They're very competent individuals that serve. They want to do the right thing. They don't always agree, but I've watched for almost 2 decades, well, actually over 2 decades now, working with Texas legislature. I've seen this group of individuals get together, argue, fight, agree, disagree. At the end of the day, we end the session and a lot gets done. And I'd like to see a lot get done for our TRS retirees. So these are 3 bills, these are not the only bills, but these are the ones that talk about giving a 6% increase to TRS retirees capped at $100. Senate Bill 2092 is by our longtime friend, Senator Brian Hughes. And I would love for all of our TRTA members to call their senator and say, hey, will you please sign on as a co-sponsor to Senate Bill 2092? Then we have House Bill 3214. This is Giovanni Capriglione's bill. Chair Capriglione is, again, a longtime friend of TRTA's, and he is talking about providing a very similar 6% increase, capped at $100. And then House Bill 3206 by Sergio Munoz is another one of our raise bills that looks like the 6% and the $100. So the real issue here is the more colleagues that we are able to help secure for our bill sponsors as co-sponsors, the more it sends a message to our chairmen of committees and to our leaders in the Senate and the House that this is an important matter. And I'd like to see a lot of our TRTA members making phone calls and asking people to sign on to these bills. All right, Roy, let's end the slideshow and we'll get ready to end this discussion today for Facebook Fridays, kind of end of the day. So I hope that you have learned a little bit more about where we stand on providing this raise. I read yesterday the article, the editorial that was written by our state president, Leroy DeHaven, a true leader and champion for all TRS retirees. And I'm so proud of his stance on this issue and his leadership. But it's not just Leroy, it's our entire board. It's our legislative coordinator, Larry Yawn, our state legislative chair, Nancy Byler. It's the state legislative committee. All of those folks are working, all the time to advance ways to get on the radar of our elected officials so that we can ultimately win, this much needed cost of living raise. But all of the work of those folks that I just mentioned, it helps, but it's nowhere near as powerful as the work that you all do. And so what I hope is that you will take some time and you'll engage in the opportunities that we're going to make available. Number one, as I said just a few seconds ago, call your senator, call your state representative, ask them to support as a co-sponsor to join on these bills. Please, will you be a co-sponsor on SB, HB? Last week, you may have seen the video presentation where we introduced this document. I was in the Texas Capitol yesterday. I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Steve Toth, State Representative Steve Toth. Representative Toth's staff person walked in to his office, and in his hand were red envelopes. So all of you who are watching this right now, for those of you who have this and you've sent these, thank you. For those of you who are saying, where's mine? Where's mine? I don't have mine yet. They're in the mail. I promise you, they're on their way. As soon as you get it, I'm asking that you consider taking out your sheet out of the bulletin, signing your name to it, putting your story on it. Let's flood the Capitol with these. I was so happy to see this yesterday. If there was one thing I was anxious to come on here and tell you all about today, I saw these in the Capitol. It's awesome. So we've also got some talking points that are coming your way. And we're going to send out an action alert as soon as this is over. And that action alert is going to have the click here message, which we all know is a very effective way for our membership to engage with their elected official and say, I'm asking you to sign on as a co-sponsor. I'm asking that you'll support a cost of living raise. We want to be aggressive. We want to ask for what we want. We want to ask for what we need. We're going to do it in the way that we always do it, which is professional, and we're going to listen. We're going to get on the radar of people, and then we're going to try to win, because that's what we do. This organization likes to win, not because for any other reason than it helps our members, and that's what we're all here to do. So I'm going to wrap up by saying thank you again so much for watching this today. Next week we're going to do some videos on TRS Care. I've got some guests lined up. I'm still working some things out, but I believe we've got a few elected officials that have been watching our videos. And they want to come on and talk to you directly. We've got our Zoom to the Capitol coming up at the first part of April. I think that's April 6th, 7th, and 8th. So make a plan, get involved with your local, get your newsletters, send this stuff in. And as always, feel free to leave any comments that you want. Ask people to join the organization. The only part about today's video presentation that I feel really bad about is that I didn't have my screen open to see who was joining. And so I wasn't able to say hi to people who came on, live. So for everybody who's here live, thanks for spending some time with me. And for everybody who's going to watch this later, thanks for taking the time. I believe we can win a cost of living raise for our members. I believe that we can win on the windfall elimination provision. I'm going to have a show on that in the next coming weeks. I believe that we can pass a bill that is going to let our retired teachers have more access to tutoring and earn extra income through tutoring. And I think that we can improve our healthcare. And I think we're going to pass legislation to improve our administrative responsibilities at TRS through our sunset. So there are a lot of issues that we're going to be talking about in the coming days. But this is the one that we thought y'all wanted to hear about first. And I think our next show is going to be on TRS Care. And then I'm going to do one really quickly on the windfall elimination provision. I get a lot of emails about that. I promise you, I've got some good news coming about our efforts on the web, but I'm waiting on some information on that one. So anyway, y'all, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you. Have a great Friday.